merits of socialism. Okay, first I have already told you, because the resources are all under government control. Yes, so there is better allocation of resources. Since welfare is the main motive behind socialism, the those production which society requires, not what the consumer demand is more, right? So what the more useful products are created, the resources are allocated to those products, right, and not to those which give you profit, the way it was in capitalism. Okay, the allocation of resources is done by a central planning authority, which takes care that luxuries are not produced at the cost of necessities. So proper, and since there is only one producer, the government is the only producer, there is no wasteful expenditure on advertisements. There is no requirement of advertisements, because there is no competition in the market. Okay. Second is social justice. Social justice, because everything is under government control, the inequalities that arise because of income distribution, that is very less, right? There is no exploitation of labor. Proper necessary training, education for their skill development is given. Now in this, just remember this, income disparities are not there, but little bit of inequality of income will be there. Why it will be there? Give me, who can tell me why this little bit of inequality disparity will be there in income distribution? Why would it be there? Who can
Ma'am, can
tell
you
me?
repeat? Ma'am, can you repeat?
Yes, I'm asking, when I said that inequalities of income are reduced, right? People,
Yes, ma'am.
there is necessary training education provided to enhance their skill. So these income inequalities which was there in capitalism is not there in socialism, because government takes control of it. But still there will be some level of disparities, right? All of them are not going to get equal income. Why?
Ma'am, because the people who work less, or like the laborers, they get less money than the people who have actual degrees.
Yes, this is based on the skill. Those
Yes.
people who have better skill, better knowledge, because people to people efficiency differs, right? So a person who has a better skill, better knowledge, can efficiently produce things, will get a little better pay than the person who does not have these things. So a little bit of income disparity is there in socialism, but not that much that is there in capitalism. Okay.
Okay.
Next is economic stability is there, because it is a planned economy. Everything is planned, everything, all useful things are wait, Riya, Riya is late. Where is this guy Ronak? Riya, can you hear me? Why are you so
Ma'am,
late today? 10 minutes late.
Ma'am, due to some connectivity issue, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So economic stability, because everything is planned by the government, right? All the resources are allocated according to the usefulness of the product. So there are no surpluses in the economy, neither are there any shortfalls in the economy. Why? Because it is not the price mechanism or the demand which is deciding what product you are going to use. We learned in capitalism that there is a lot of wasteful expenditure also, and lot of resources are diverted toward those things which are profitable. So there is a lot of surplus in the economy for one thing, and there is a lot of shortage for another thing, right? In this case, because everything is planned, there is no shortfall or no fluctuations in the economy, right? Everybody is given proper equal employment opportunities. So unemployment is also very little or not at all. Okay. Social security and welfare, because socialism, the central point of socialism is social welfare only. Social security is given to all, right? Irrespective of caste, color, creed, everybody gets social security. Basic facilities of housing, education, health, these are all provided by the government. Also things like compensation for unemployment, sickness, health benefits, all these are given by the government. Okay, in this kind of economic growth, in this kind of economy, rapid economic growth takes place. Why rapid economic growth takes place? Because first, there is no wasteful expenditure. Second, there is proper economic planning done. That means resources which are required for useful things are diverted there. Efficient production is there. We do not, this economy does not depend on price mechanism. The prices are regulated, right? So government, when government interference is there, it can easily increase the rate of saving and investment, which can help in further economic growth. So all these are there in, all these merits are there in socialism, right? It, when you see it, it seems that this is better than capitalism, doesn't it seem? Yes, there is no this social disparity, everything is under the control, but things which have merits have their demerits also. Socialism, wherever, whichever country has adopted socialism, most of the time it has, it is not stabilized there. The countries have fallen down, they have not been able to keep it up, right? Why it has happened? And the most important example in this is Soviet Russia, right? Socialism failed in Soviet Russia. Now why did that happen? Because this kind of economy also has its demerits. First is no incentive for hard work. Since there is no competition in the market, everybody is secure, their jobs are protected under the social security scheme, so they do not have any intense incentive for hard work. They know whether they produce whatever they can efficiently produce, or they produce less than that, their job is not going to go anywhere, their income is not going to be cut. But where there is competition in the market, people are trying their best to produce efficiently so that the cost of production comes down, their profit increases. But here, since there is no profit motive, they know jobs are not going anywhere, the incentive for hard work is not there, right? Second is loss of freedom. When we learned capitalism, we said it is free entry and free exit. The consumers have freedom to choose what they want to consume, producers have freedom to choose what they want to produce, right? But this is not the case in socialism, because it is the government which is deciding what has to be produced and how it is to be produced, how much it is to be produced, right? So there is no social and civil freedom here. No freedom of speech, no freedom to consumers. Consumers also do not have that freedom ki they can consume howsoever much they want to consume. It is not, the freedom is not there. Okay. So that portion of freedom which you find in capitalism is not there in socialism. Loss of efficiency, I already told you, since there is no competition in the market, government is the only producer, there is no motivation for them to work efficiently. And when there is no incentive for motivation to work efficiently, they will not work. Second thing, everything is under the control of government. Government is what? They are those people who are elected by the people, right? Government and the bureaucrats, it is those people who are working, who are in the government. And bureaucrats, we also know that their efficiency is not, it cannot be compared to the efficiency of private managers. Why private managers are more efficient? Because they know there is a lot of competition in the market. If they are not efficient, if they do not efficiently control their companies, they will not be able to reap the benefits of profit. It's a cutthroat competition. So whenever it's a cutthroat competition, you will try to improve your efficiency. So private managers are better efficient managers than bureaucrats. Okay, these points are clear to you, right? Then there is red tapeism. What is red tapeism? Red tapeism, what we find in our country also, like in the government offices, the files keep on moving from one table to another. It's a long process to get anything done, right? This file, then from here to that desk, from that to that desk. Decisions are not made on time because people keep on giving their work to each other, right? There is no stipulated time that okay, in 3 days you have to give decision for this, which is not there in private companies. Their decision making is quick and fast, but in government hold, red tapeism is there too much. Okay, then next is concentration of economic power, economic and political power. When everything is under the control of the government, those people who are elected and form government, who have the power to make these decisions, the entire power gets concentrated in their hands. These are the people who are deciding for the economy. Yes, they are the planning authorities. So the concentration of power is with them. Now, there is an example given. Stalin in Soviet Russia ruled for 3 decades. Okay, and Soviet Russia was considered one of the biggest socialist economy, but it failed. Why it failed? Because of these reasons. And in most of the countries, socialism has failed. Although it is still there, it is there in China, but not to this extent. Right? Wherever this has happened, even if you see, wherever power is concentrated in the hands of a few people, things do not, because it is then their wish how it is working. Okay, so these are the demerits which causes, although socialism is a planned economy, if everything goes as it is planned in the economy, then everything is going to be good. But because it has these demerits, socialism has not survived anywhere. Okay, is it clear to all of you? Okay, now,
Ma'am,
yes.
ma'am, if suppose a country takes half of the rules from capitalism and half from socialism, so will that work?
We are going to learn mixed economy now. The next will be mixed economy. Let's see if it works. Okay, first, there is just one this thing in your book. There is there complete equality of income in social economy? I have already told you, is there complete income equality in socialism? I explained it to you when I was telling you. Is
No,
there?
ma'am.
No, because income equality arises out of uh, the skill development and the knowledge that a person has, the efficiency of that, right? So these income equality, because of these differences in efficiency and skill, they still prevail, right? So complete equality of income is not possible, even if it is socialism. Is it clear? Right? So now let's go to the next topic, which Ria just now asked. If we take the good things from capitalism, good things from socialism, and have a mixed economy. So can we have a mixed economy? Yes, we can have a mixed economy. We have mixed economy. Most of the countries, most of the developing countries follow the regime of mixed economy. Okay, so now let's start with that. Ronak has come in.
Ma'am, does India has mixed economy?
Yes, India has mixed economy.
Good morning,
Yes.
ma'am.
Good morning. Why are you so late?
Ma'am, network connection was there.
Network connection problems were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with mixed economy. Okay. So now we are starting with the mixed economy. What is the meaning of mixed economy? First, we'll start with that. It is what Ria just now suggested, that we take the good portions from the capitalism, we take the good things from socialism, and then we mix together. So mixed economy essentially means there is a private sector, there is a public sector, and both of them work in tandem, work together for economic growth of a country. Okay, the private sector, private ownership, inheritance is there, but it is not totally free. Private sector is not totally free. There are government regulations, and there are government control over this private, right? Price plays an important role, but not to that extent that it plays, that everything, all the economy is decided by price. Price control is there by the government. Okay, there is a limit till where price mechanism plays a role, and then there is limit from the government. The main sectors, that is our useful sectors, those are under the ownership of government, which are known as private sectors, sorry, public sectors, and other sectors are there for private. So that much freedom is not there as it is there in capitalism, but that much control is also not there that is there in socialism. Okay, so this was propagated by J.M. Keynes. He's a very important economist. As you study economics, you will learn his whatever theories he had propagated. So he is very important. It was given, this mixed economy was given by J.M. Keynes during the World Depression of 1930. During 1930, the entire world was going under depression, right? And all these capitalism, socialism, all of them were suffering. So it is at this time J.M. Keynes gave this theory of mixed economy. Okay, so it is a mixed form of capitalism and socialism. The bad features of both are avoided, and best of both are taken in this, right? So mixed capitalist system, this is also known as, now there are two types of mixed economies. First is mixed capitalist system. Okay, in this the private enterprise is there, but there is a little bit of government interference in this, right? But not to the extent that we have it in India. Okay, these type of economies, I told you, US, UK, these are capitalist economy, right? But now that they have seen that leaving it entirely to private sector is not going to help in economic development, so now government interference is there. But what has happened is it is not there in all the field. It is there in like production of defense goods and public utility services. Only in those places the government interference is there, right? So all the developed economies that we have now, they all have this mixed capitalist system. That means they have more of capital, yes, more of capitalism, but with little bit of government control. Okay, other type of mixed, yes, Ved, you want to ask something? Okay, other type of mixed economy is wherein little bit more of government control is there. Okay, wherein the production of goods and services are controlled directly by the government, right? Yes, Melvin. Yes, Melvin.
Ma'am,
Yes.
what does prudent means?
Where?
Your government confines to
Production of defense goods and public utility services. Okay, I write things in short form. Okay, right. So in this, main features of a mixed economy is that both the private and the public sector, they coexist. Okay, so the basic heavy industries, the strategic industries, defense, public utility, electricity, all these things are managed by the government. It is under the public sector. Okay, and other than those, the consumer goods, these are given to the private sector. Okay, agriculture and consumer good, they are in the hands of private sector. The rest everything is in under the hands of the government or the public sector. Okay, private sector is given freedom, the necessary freedom which is given for initiative, but under the framework of national economic interest, right? So there are regulations in place as to how much, how they can produce, what they can produce. So regulation is there which takes care of economic interest of the nation as a whole. So social welfare is there, it is a priority, and considering the social welfare only, the freedom is given to the private sectors. Okay, government, those sectors which require huge investment and which have a low rate of profitability, those sectors, because in those sectors the private people will not like to go because the profit margin is very low in this, those sectors are with the government, or these are the public sectors. Okay, and those sectors in where profitability is more, the private sector is given freedom in that. Okay, so in our economy, agriculture, consumer goods, trade, foreign trade, these are all in the hands of private sector. Okay, now here the next feature that is taken from the socialism is economic planning, right? Economic planning is done by the government so that a balanced growth can be achieved in both the sectors, the public sector also and private sector also, right? And for the private sector to have growth, to help in national growth, proper incentives are given to help them grow. But to reduce the undesirable effect, proper disincentives through the fiscal and monetary policies and trade policies are also taken care of. How? What are these monetary and fiscal policies? Anybody can tell me? You have heard about monetary policies, fiscal policies. You have heard about planning commission sitting and planning for the economy. The budget comes out every year. Have you heard about all these things? Yes or no?
I've heard about planning, but not monitoring.
Not monetary and fiscal policies. Monetary and fiscal policies are the money policies and the taxes policies. Okay, the money policies which the RBI takes to control the flow of money in the economy, right? If you have heard just now, because people, there is no production happening, people do not have money. So yesterday only it was declared that the that RBI has reduced the repo rate. Yes, they have reduced the CRR, that is the cash reserve ratio. These are monetary policies which the RBI, our central bank is the RBI, right? Money flows through RBI. So it controls the flow of money in the economy. Right now, money is required in the economy, so it has increased the flow of money in the economy, right? When it sees that too much of money is there in the economy, it brings in these monetary policies, increases the rate of interest, things like that, which then controls money in the economy. Okay, fiscal policy is the tax policies of the government. You hear in every planning, whenever they are budget sessions every year, they take out budgets, they give these fiscal policies, right? And trade policies. These are the restrictions on trade, these can be exported, this can be imported, these are the custom duties that are levied, right? The direct taxes, the income taxes are cut by this, the rich are taxed more. These are the fiscal policies which the government use to control the flow of money and to control economy. Okay, so planning by giving incentives and disincentives, both of them are required to control the economy and to take the economy in a proper direction. Okay, for proper economic growth. So economic planning is done. Social welfare is the topmost priority here also. It is not private ownership which is given more which is given more importance. It is social welfare only. For that, price mechanism plays an important part in economy, but when these prices go out of hand, there is government regulation. Okay, government control is there, so prices are regulated. If you have heard about the term minimum rate, that is that the government gives to the agriculture produce, they set a minimum price for the product, right? Whenever that agriculture produce is coming out, they set a minimum price. Why do they give that minimum price? So that at least this much money the cultivators or the producers can get for their product. Okay, ahead of that, it is the price mechanism and the demand. If the price increases, they might get more money out of it, but they will not get less than that money which has been fixed by the government. Okay, so government sees to it that people do not incur losses in this. Okay, so there is proper government regulation here, right? It's not open like the capitalism, but it is not totally controlled like socialism. Okay, social welfare is the main motive. I have told you, greater social welfare. Government, it takes and undertakes all the schemes for the poor. There are health schemes, sanitation, basic facilities of education are given. Labor is protected through the labor laws. Now labor laws also, they stipulate that this is the minimum wage a labor should get, so nobody can give wages less than that. Depending on the demand in the market, the wages can increase. Okay, but you cannot go below the minimum wage which has been set by the government. So it is protecting the labor also. Exploitation of labor is not happening. Okay, there are factory acts which stipulates that minimum maximum working hours are 8 hours only. You cannot have laborers working for more than 8 hours, right? Wages are fixed. A minimum this much wage to you have to give. Then depending on the skill development skill, they get their wages. So labor is protected in this kind of economy. Okay, these are the measures which are undertaken to minimize economic inequalities. When we learned in capitalism, there is a lot of economic inequality. Why? Because of exploitation of poor, the labor class. Yes, so when these labor class are protected by these laws, this it minimizes the economic inequalities also. That means there the government tries to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Okay, price mechanism, I have already told you, price mechanism is allowed to function, but it is subject to fixation of minimum wages. That means these are known as administered prices. Okay, it will not, the government will not allow the prices to fall below a certain limit and to rise above a certain limit. Okay, so there is a limit below which it cannot go and above it it cannot go. So there is regulated or administered price in the economy, right? And because of all these, because government takes all these actions, labor laws are in place, factory laws are in place, there is reduction in inequality of income and wealth. Minimum wages are fixed, so that much minimum wage the laborer will get. Okay, then government also gives incentives to these factories. Progressive taxation is there. What is progressive taxation? What is progressive taxation?
Ma'am, taxation, increasing the money,
Yes,
increasing
but
the tax
increasing how?
gradually. Ma'am,
Yes,
gradually.
gradual increase means depending on the level of income, right? When you, if you get a chance, you can just Google around what are the taxation policies. The income tax which is levied on us, it is some, till some level of income there is no tax. Okay, then it gradually increase 10%, 20%, 30%. So the rich people are taxed more, those people who have more money are taxed more, and the poor people or the low level income people are taxed less. This is known as progressive income taxation policy. Okay, so those people who have more money will be taxed more. Okay, so these are some government policies which it follows, so that the best features of both the economies, that is capitalism and socialism, are taken in mixed economies, but avoiding their defects. These were the defects that these economies had, so we try to avoid these effects in the mixed economy. Okay, mixed economy is clear to all? Yes, let's go for merits. So now what are the merits of mixed economy? We have seen through the features that mixed economy, since it takes the best of both, obviously it is the best kind of economy that we see, right? There is proper allocation of resources because appropriate division is done between the private and the public sectors. All those areas which require heavy investment, which are for public usefulness, those are kept with the public sector. But consumer goods, durable goods, agriculture, these are given to the private sector. Yes, advantages of the capitalist system is taken. I told you price mechanism is there, free entry exit to a limit is there, right? Profit motive to the private sectors is there, but with a capping by the government. Okay, till this much you can do, not beyond that. Okay, social interest and welfare, there is always a check given by the government, so that production of harmful goods does not take place, right? So it is a good compromise between socialism and capitalism, taking the best of both, avoiding the defects of both. Okay, this also helps in fast economic growth because you are paying attention to efficient management. Private sector always will be profit motivated, so there is efficiency there, and the government sector is taking care of those sectors which are not that profitable but have lot of utility for the social welfare. So there is proper economic and fast economic growth that happens because of a balance between these two sectors, and this helps in balanced growth of the economy. Okay, these merits are clear for the mixed economy, no problem in this. Yes, who wants to ask a question?
What is proper allocation of resources?
Proper allocation of resources is between the private and public sector. I told you those sectors which require a lot of investment, heavy investment, basic industries like mining, like petroleum and gas, these require a lot of investment in it, right? And these are those sectors which are good for the society as whole. Yes, provision of electricity, everybody requires it. Basic infrastructure, these industries are with the government, right? So proper allocation of resources is done towards these, and agriculture and consumer goods are given to private sector. So when something is given to private sector, the resource allocation for them is also there. So it is not a skewed development towards one, like in private capitalism. What did we see? Wherever profit is there, the private sector goes that side. Okay, there is minimum good. So government does not have a control in resource allocation. But here in mixed economy, government sees to it that proper resources are diverted to both the sectors, to the public sector also and to the private sector also. Okay, that is the meaning of proper allocation. Yes, yes, Melvin. You raised a hand. No question. Okay. Anybody else who wants to ask a question, or should I go ahead? So proper allocation merits are clear to you. Now let's come to, if something has, I've already told you, if something has merit, it will have demerits also. So there are demerits for the mixed economy, maybe not as much as there are in both capitalism and socialism, but there still are demerits, right? Now first is instability. Why instability? Because there is always a danger of nationalization. Nationalization means when the government sees that private sector is going out of hand, it nationalizes or it takes their property into their own hand. Okay, so there is always this danger of nationalization in the economy, right? And it might happen because the private sector is not happy with the policies of the government. They refuse to cooperate with public sector. In a mixed economy, the economic growth will happen only when public and private sector are going together. Okay, it will not happen if one refuses to cooperate. So if the private sector refuses to cooperate with the public sector, then there is instability in the economy. Okay, it is an uncoordinated system. Uncoordinated system means, yes, it is public is public goods are with the government, private is given some kind of freedom, right? Price mechanism does play a part, but price mechanism does not play that important a part which the private companies would like it to play, right? When you leave everything to the price mechanism, one point will come where the profits are maximized, that efficient production is taking place. But government, it regulates the prices. It does not allow the prices to go that high, or it will not allow the prices to go that down also. Okay, so everything is in the hand of the central planning authority. So it is not a it is a very uncoordinated system. It's not coordinated. Then economic fluctuations. Okay, now economic fluctuations in the economy. Why do economic fluctuations come? Economic fluctuations come when there is a shortage in supply, or there is demand is too much, supply is not met to that. Now why does this come? This comes when there is a shortage of supply, right? Why shortage of supply will happen? Because private sector is not that independent, right? There is a demand, but private sector does not get those much resources to meet that demands. When that happens, these economic fluctuations happen in the economy. Okay, because resources are allocated by the government. What will happen in capitalism? Capitalism, when they see that this sector is having, a particular sector has having more demand, they will divert the resources to that. Yes, Ria. Yes, Ria.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, can we say that now India is facing economic fluctuations?
Yes, India is facing economic fluctuation from a long time. We'll do India as a mixed economy also. The next topic is India as a mixed economy. Okay, what are the merits and the demerits? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so economic fluctuations are also part of this mixed economy. Okay, then there is uncertainty. Why is there uncertainty? I told you there is always a danger of nationalization of resources. Okay, so when there is always a danger, there is always a uncertainty in the economy. What the government is going to do, what the government is going to decide, right? These kinds of uncertainty is always there in a mixed economy. Okay.